Ernie Tetrault, Tracy Egan, sports with John Graney, and meteorologist Neal Estano. Now live, the #1 news in the Capital District. This is NewsCenter 6.
Good evening. The skies darkened, the winds blew, and then the pelting rain came down as thunderstorms roared through the area.
We have reports of damage still coming in from throughout the region. The storm knocked down scores of trees in many areas. In some cases, those trees carried utility poles down too, causing scattered power outages. Some cars were also hit by falling limbs. Many low-lying streets were flooded, slowing traffic down to a crawl.
Right now, let's go to meteorologist Neal Estano for the latest on what's happening.
As I mentioned a minute ago, the worst is over for the Capital District, but it was a very impressive, still is a very impressive line of thunderstorms extending from Maine all the way through New Hampshire, southern Vermont, and into eastern New York. Still south of the Capital District, strong thunderstorms through extremes southern sections of Columbia County and further south into the lower Hudson Valley and down southeast of into Ulster County, where a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until 6:30. This whole line continues to push to the south and east, and just a short time ago, severe thunderstorm watch in effect for southeastern New England. Back with more on this situation in just a few minutes. Now, Peter Bernard in Saratoga Springs.
Hi there, Neil. We're at the Saratoga Spa State Park, where the Scouts are having to deal with this weather. We're expecting up to 7,000 Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, and their advisors to crowd this area this weekend. It's a big event, and they're having to deal with the weather. You can see they're setting up, as the Scout always is. They are prepared. But there is damage all over the area. We have reports of trees down in a lot of places in Saratoga County. These scenes from Crescent Road at Foxwood Apartments, it blocked 1.5 lanes of traffic. Buses from the Shenandoah School District had to be rerouted. This scene here from Dunsback and Crescent Road, a large branch snapped off in the wind. It fell on a moving pickup truck through a windshield. Fortunately, the driver got away with only cuts to his hand, not major injuries there, but he could have been injured very seriously. You can see that right there. Milton and Rollins Street. This is a large tree that clipped a house in Saratoga County. Power is out at this location in a couple of areas around here. There have been reports also of some power outages throughout the Capital District. Also around our area, we have a big tree down in Ballston Spa. Downtown, a car was crushed down there. No reports of any injuries on that one. Also damage at Saratoga Lake on Route 9P, Churchill Road in Half Moon, and Route 146 at Tallowood in Clifton Park. So lots of storm damage around the area, a big storm system that passed on through. And one noticeable difference, we were in the 80s just a little while ago, and as we were setting up to do this live shot, the temperature has dropped dramatically, and we're actually freezing out here right now. You can see the Scouts are all ready for their big jamboree coming up this weekend, and they are prepared. They're going to have a fun time. Back to the studio now.
All right. Thanks very much, Peter.
Looks like it's going to be getting even colder over the next couple of days. I'll have more on that. Possible frost over the weekend. Can you believe it? So, big changes.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Well, the people behind boxing star Mike Tyson say the former heavyweight champ knows nothing about an all-star basketball classic at the Nick tomorrow night, a charity event that bears his name.
Ken Screven reports from our Albany News Center tonight that the Team Tyson people say a local promoter went too far in the name of a good cause. Ken, what's the cause?
Well, Tracy and Ernie, the good cause is the fight against drugs, but we've learned the boxing champ is still in the dark about an event that does bear his name. For a month now, the basketball classic has been advertised with Tyson's picture and Tyson's name, indicating the champ himself would appear. But the promotion stunned one of Tyson's closest associates, Rory Holloway, who says Mike is in California. Does Mike know anything at all at this point about it?
No, Mike don't, Mike's probably out there with his son relaxing, and he doesn't know anything about this tournament. I go to the music store, see a big billboard sign Mike picture on, I say, nah, you can't do this. You can't manipulate the public like this.
He is promoter Billy White, a friend of Tyson's, who today admitted there was a problem with how the event was promoted. The public has been told for $10 and $8 tickets you can see basketball stars playing at the Nick tomorrow night to raise money to fight drugs. Today we learned that several of the players, including Siena College star Mark Brown, would not actually play tomorrow night. But the bottom line is no Mike Tyson. And Tyson apparently never agreed to sponsor the event this way.
This wasn't carried on professionally, and we're not going to have anything to do with it.
It's unfortunate for all of the Capital District area basketball fans that this problem has to arise. However, the game is going on, going forth. We want to benefit Mike Tyson's name in the fight against drugs. It's a positive, not a negative.
We called the California offices of Say No to Drugs in San Diego, and we left several messages, but no one called us back. Billy White says he'll try to channel some of the proceeds from the event to area boys and girls clubs, but the Albany Club's executive director says no one ever told him.
No, they haven't.
That surprised you?
Yeah, it does surprise us. I was wondering who was going to benefit from it. And
Tyson spokesmen say he hopes the public will buy tickets to the game because it is supposed to be for a good cause. But the Tyson people just did not like the way the champ's name was used.
All right. Thanks for looking into that, Kenny.
Okay.
In tonight's Target 6 report, the Albany County Sheriff's Department has a new way to fight drug smuggling. The Drug Interdiction and Enforcement Unit will be headed up by retired City of Albany Detective John Burke. Inspector Burke will be in charge of cracking down on drugs and drug money being brought into the Capital District at the Albany County Airport. And just across the street at the Albany County Jail, the drug unit will work to ferret out the contraband being smuggled into prisoners.
While Albany County is moving closer to making a decision on the future of the airport. In a news conference, County Legislative Majority Leader Richard Myers says the county is close to picking one of two potential companies to run the facility for the county. Now, county leaders have already looked at Lockheed. They plan to visit Johnson Control sometime in the next few weeks. A final decision is expected in June. Myers refused to comment on allegations that the architectural firm hired by the county won't be paid in full for their services because of reported overcharges.
Ernie, there's more potential trouble for Jim Coyne tonight. According to published reports, Coyne bought his former county car for only $100. Bud Carney, the car dealer, says he told a grand jury on Thursday that the county car had just been traded into him when Coyne purchased it for his daughter. At the time of the sale, the car had a book value of $5,000. A grand jury is investigating allegations of political wrongdoing in the county.
Well, Governor Cuomo today said he wouldn't bet on having the budget in place by May 25th, the day New York City faces a financial disaster. Without state aid, the city loses much of its ability to borrow, and its government may be turned over to a board of financial directors. That jeopardizes all of the state because a third of state revenues come from the city. Meanwhile, the governor extinguished rumors at the Capitol that an agreement had been reached. He says lawmakers still haven't decided how to raise another $1 billion on the revenue side. But he says, much to his disappointment, they've settled on the spending side.
I didn't believe they could come this far and do this little. I didn't believe it. I was wrong. They have come this far, this many months later, and still don't have a two-way agreement. Would have been bad enough if they had a two-way agreement and couldn't get me to agree. But here they've agreed only to one thing, that we must spend more money.
If the budget isn't passed by Monday, it'll be the latest budget in state history.
And Ernie, that late state budget jeopardized some state income tax refund checks because the tax department was running low on money to mail them out. Thanks to a loan from the Department of Motor Vehicles, those checks are now on the way to mailboxes across the state. DMV loaned $190,000 to the tax department to pay postage for the mailings. Governor Cuomo said the latest money move is humiliating, but it saves having to send another emergency spending bill to lawmakers.
A state trooper was one of 3 people indicted in Fulton County on sex abuse charges. State Trooper Charles Baer of Gloversville is charged with 6 counts of sexual abuse and 2 counts of sodomy and rape. The 38-year-old Baer allegedly sexually abused and assaulted a 13-year-old girl several times between June 1990 and February 1991. Baer is suspended with pay. 31-year-old James Rowe and 24-year-old Timothy Kammerer of Gloversville were also indicted for various charges for allegedly sexually abusing children.
While in Albany County Court, a city man was arraigned on charges that he killed a 21-month-old infant. 21-year-old Jeffrey Terrell is back in jail tonight, no bail. After this morning's court appearance, Terrell is accused of shaking, punching, and throwing around his girlfriend's baby boy, Dakel Jeffries, causing his death. Terrell told police he was just fooling around.
We're still ahead here on NewsCenter 6, a new anxiety for patients awaiting organ transplants.
The chances of getting AIDS from an organ are very rare. There still is a possibility.
And as the years add up for 2 area schools, so do the safety hazards. You'll find out why parents have good reason to be worried. 2 Catskill schools had to be closed today so the first steps could be taken to make them safer. Irving and Grandview elementary schools were shut down so teachers could eliminate stored supplies that are creating a fire hazard. The bottom line is the schools were both built around the turn of the century. Both of them would need major renovations to alleviate health and safety risks. Parents are worried that their kids are at risk going to school there.
The overcrowding is my main concern, and also the fire hazards with the asbestos in the school is also very concerning to me.
So far, a proposal for a new school has been voted down twice. A meeting to make people more aware of the dangers that exist in the old schools is scheduled for May 29th.
Potential transplant patients going through the agonizing process of awaiting an organ donation now have a new fear to contend with. AIDS has killed 2 people who received organ transplants shortly before the donor died. Authorities are checking more than 50 other people who received organs and tissues from the same infected donor. Now, the administrative director of the organ procurement program at Albany Med says tests have improved since 1985 when the donor died, but you can never be 100% sure.
Even with all that testing and all the checking, there is still a remote possibility of AIDS being transmitted, because there is a 6 to 12 week window where the patient might have been infected and the antibody hasn't been produced yet.
Very low, and I'm sorry that happened.
Charlene Prosky of East Greenbush, who is awaiting a kidney transplant, says she's willing to take the
We're
risk.
going to have to take risks in whatever you do anyway. So I'm willing to take the risk.
A social history test is now required for all organ donors to further reduce the risk of disease for organ patients. Well, coming up later in the Night Team Report, Ron Howard talks about the excitement of directing his film, Backdraft, a firefighter's adventure story.
Hey, Neal's going to tell us if we'll have more adventures with the weekend weather.
It's looking good for the weekend, but I just got some more information on tonight's storm. Be back with that in the forecast for the weekend right after this.
NewsCenter 6 Weather is sponsored by Quick Lube.
Neal's going to tell us where the stormy weather went, but also want to find out if it's going to be good spring cleaning weather tomorrow, because Ronald McDonald House needs some volunteers between 9 and 2 tomorrow at 139 South Lake Avenue in Albany.
Yes.
Good weather for spring cleaning?
Light jacket, though. Sweater. Oh, we have big changes coming up for the weekend, and I'll tell you about that in just a couple of minutes. Let's go outside. It has stopped raining, but it is quite muggy out still here in the Schenectady area. But the cooler weather is not too far behind. Let's check out those stats for today. We reached a high temperature of 84, 67 low, and 0.14 precip in the middle of that rain, but it was still coming down when the Weather Service recorded it. We'll have an update at 11 for you. Right now, cloudy sky, 68 degrees, west wind at 6, and the humidity quite high, 93%, but it is going to be getting much drier. I want to show you the regional radar once again and show you an area of thunderstorms down in Ulster County and also into Dutchess County. This area is under the gun with some strong storms, strong gusty winds out of those storms. So the National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning until 7:15 for those storms moving in this area right here. Those are the strong thunderstorms, and they continue to push, or these right here, they continue to push to the south and east. Also, central and southern Berkshire County will be getting another line of thunderstorms as they continue to push toward the south. And the heaviest storms now appear to be over in southern New Hampshire. These are very strong storms. They'll be moving into central Massachusetts over the next hour or so. Meanwhile, well, what's causing all this? Strong cold front. Big contrast. 40s to the north, 80s to the south of this front. It's been sagging south slowly all day today. And as it arrived here, ahead of it, we had those strong gusty winds with those thunderstorms, and they continue to move to the south. Closer look at the temperature contrast. 81 right now in Poughkeepsie, 68 Albany, 50 Glens Falls, 47 right now in Rutland. Look at that. Saranac Lake already down to 43 degrees. They'll be down in the low 30s tonight. Maybe some frost over the North Country. You know what? Maybe some frost tomorrow night in southern sections, isolated valleys. Hard to believe. We were almost 90 yesterday, and we're talking about frost for tomorrow night. Hot, humid weather will continue over the southeastern quadrant of the U.S., while our weather coming from the north. Look at this. Crystal clear skies over Canada, and that's going to be with us right through the weekend and into next week. It's going to be cool, below normal, but not bad. Temperatures are going to be only in the mid-60s by tomorrow. Tomorrow night down in the 30s around the region. That front will stay to our south. If you are traveling to the south tomorrow, it's going to be rainy down New York City, points south. Back with the details of the forecast right after this. Areas to the south and east of the Capital District still under the gun with thunderstorms, but showers in the Capital District and northwest winds 10 to 20. Temperatures fall down through the 60s. Overnight showers and slow clearing north to south. 48 for a low, north wind 10 miles an hour. Tomorrow mostly sunny, high of only 65 degrees, north wind 10 to 20. If you're in the North Country tomorrow, dress warmly. It's going to be chilly. Tomorrow night, clear, cold, scattered frost in the 30s. And then the outlook for Sunday, about 70 degrees, nice day. Monday, beautiful in the 70s. Then we get back in the 80s by midweek next week, with thunderstorms likely on Wednesday. So huge changes coming up in the next 12 hours or so.
You weathermen love that change.
It is. It's great.
Thanks, Neal.
NewsCenter 6:30 is coming up in just a few minutes.
Let's check with Liz for a preview of what's coming up.
Well, we're going to take a closer look at what's going on at the Capitol. Tonight on NewsCenter 6:30, is there a budget agreement at hand or is it just a rumor? Lawmakers at the Capitol are playing both sides of the fence, but Albany News Chief Judy Sanders says the real truth is somewhere in between. She'll have the latest on the ever-so-close budget agreement. And we'll also have the latest on Henry Nichols, the Eagle Scout with AIDS, who has now taken his message of understanding around the globe. And Tom Maley will let us know how we can get in step with a big weekend salute to the warriors of Desert Storm. Plus, one of the best-known unemployed men in America speaks at a local college graduation. We'll tell you what he had to say. And a discarded cigarette is being blamed for a killer fire in a shopping mall. We'll have the latest on the search for victims. It's all a part of NewsCenter 6:30 tonight, and it starts in just a few minutes. We'll be looking for you then. Ernie and Tracy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Coming up in sports, John will be along with a preview of Game 6 tonight between the Celtics and the Pistons.
Along with a final word on an amazing round of golf today by Kenny Perry at Memorial, including this shot, which just may be a hole-in-one.
NewsCenter 6 Sports is sponsored by the American Dairy Association.
I'll be back later with my pick in the Preakness. You're determined to embarrass me, aren't you? But right now, John is here with the story of a team very much in need of a win.
Badly.
The Celtics, right?
Season's over if they lose tonight. That's right. If the Celtics lose to the Pistons tonight, sayonara. Season's over. And they're banged up. Bird's back has been a season-long problem. And now Robert Parrish is hobbling on a sprained left ankle. The team's prankster, Kevin McHale, couldn't avoid some humor when asked about the Chiefs' condition.
Robert looked good today. He had a nice ensemble, kind of a green top with shorts, with sandals. I'd rate it highly as far as the outfit. Whether or not he'll play, I don't know. You probably have to ask him.
I don't know. He's very sore, though, okay? And I mean, we've been saying that Larry's been very sore, and he's somehow shows up. So we don't know. We'll just wait and see.
The team that took this area by storm a year ago, the Albany Firebirds of the Arena Football League, began workouts today for their second season. It will be extremely interesting to see if they can duplicate their crowds of a year ago when they averaged 11,000 per game. They opened home on Saturday, June 1st, against New Orleans. Area tennis fans should remember the name Anki Huber. This is Anki on the baseline as she won the OTB tournament last August as a 15-year-old, and today a major breakthrough for her career. Recent success has put Gabriela Sabatini on the verge of being the #1 women's player in the world, and today Ms. Huber beat Sabatini in straight sets 5 and 6-3 in a tournament in Huber's native Germany. Remember that name, folks, Anki Huber. At the Memorial Golf Tournament in Dublin, Ohio, young Kenny Perry had the round of his life. He came to the 16th already 7 under par on the day and took a 6-iron out of his bag in trying to put a cap on a most memorable day. Right down the middle, softly on the par 3 green, and right into the hole. A hole-in-one, which puts Mr. Perry 9 under through 16 holes of golf. He parred the last 2, came in with a 63, a new course record, and leaped to the top of the leaderboard halfway home. Perry holds a 3-stroke lead over Chip Beck with first-round leader Corey Pavin and Fuzzy Zeller at 7 under. Andy Bean and Doug Toole are next at 6 under, while Jack Nicklaus heads up a cluster 1 stroke further back. Strike the Gold will look to duplicate his Kentucky Derby win tomorrow at the Preakness against a field of 7 challengers. The sport's top trainer, D. Wayne Lucas, who will saddle Corporate Report under Pat Day, provides his assessment of the race.
I look for it to be realistic up front with Best Pal, probably Corporate Report, Hansel even, and probably Maine Minister turning for home. At that point, I think that there'll be a gut check on Strike the Gold. At that point, he is going to have to
close up at the quarter pole and try to make, you know, a belated run like he did in the Derby. If he gets a clean trip, he's certainly a horse to reckon with.
Who will win?
I'd love to see Strike the Gold go all the way for the Triple Crown, but I don't think he can do it. I'd like to be loyal and say Strike the Gold, but I think it's going to be Hansel.
Hansel.
I'm going to stick with Best Pal.
Fresh Horse Olympia.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, stay with us. Coming up on NewsCenter 6, actor-director Ron Howard talks to Dan DiNicola about himself and his latest movie.
I'm the type of person who wants to be liked. I want my films to be liked. You know, I mean, that's probably why I make the kinds of movies that I do.
Ron Howard has done it all, from playing Opie and Richie to owning a film company. Howard's latest endeavor is the movie Backdraft. He directed the adventure thriller about firefighters, which opens tomorrow.
For more on the man behind the movie, Dan DiNicola talking to Ron Howard in Hollywood.
Rolling, bring him up. Action! Ron Howard, child actor, director, and now chairman of the board of his own film company, has co-produced and directed Backdraft, an adventure thriller about firefighters.
Check that door for heat.
One look at Ron Howard, the guy next door, and it's hard to believe that he is one of the most powerful businessmen in the industry.
In the newsroom, as you know, the newsroom is a pretty cynical place. Simon editor comes in and says, "Come on now, Ron." Everybody else is saying Ron Howard's a nice guy. He says, "Nobody is that nice."
Well, I know exactly what he's saying, and he's probably right. I'm the type of person who wants to be liked. I want my films to be liked. As you get older and as you live and as you compete, not only with the rest of the world, but with yourself, you realize that that there are these moments where it's not a matter of nice or not nice, but you're going to have to do some things that are going to be upsetting.
Howard has had to cut staff and make other unpopular decisions, but one decision is firm. He will not allow his children to go into show business, at least not now.
I'm not so sure that they know what they would be getting themselves into in terms of competing with that and offering themselves up for comparison.
Besides, says Howard, when he was a child actor, his parents were always with him.
My wife's a writer. I'm a director. I've got a public company. I can't take 3 weeks and go and supervise 9 hours a day a child of mine working in a film. Without that, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I'd like to see them get the good education and pursue it as an adult because they have a passion, not because they're kids and think it might be cool.
From Washington, D.C., Dan DiNicola, NewsCenter 6.
Together thing.
Interesting and nice man.
Thoughtful man.
Yep. And that's NewsCenter 6 for tonight. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again at 11 for the Night Team Report.
Now let's hand off to Liz for NewsCenter 6:30.